So, welcome
Hi.
everyone. Here with me is Mr. Vinay Nair. He's founder of Vichar Vatika, co-founder of Raising a Mathematician Foundation, director of RM Math Circle. He is passionate math educator and mentor for highly able student in math. So, in going ahead conversation, I need to ask you what is this highly able student in maths? He has designed and led various national level math programs such as White Paper for starting a math museum, talent identification for math camps. He had been in NCERT committee for identifying the cause of math phobia in students. That's amazing. I hope many would have known this before. He has been leading the activities at Raising a Mathematician Foundation, where they touch the lives of about 2,000 students every year. At Vicharvatika, through various courses like Ganit Krida, students are exposed to math in a fun way through puzzles and games, while more challenging courses like Ganit Manthan are designed for students who are much ahead of their curriculum. He has led over 50 national level residential camps and he has spoken on platforms like TEDx multiple times. Thank you, Vinay. Thank you for being with us today. And my first question to you is, how did this thought of raising a mathematician came to your life?
So, well, thank you, Jane, for having me here. It's my pleasure to be on this platform. Um, Asking about raising a mathematician foundation, it takes me back 12 years. So that was when me and some of my friends, we were having a loud thought on how do we nurture talent? Because we were getting students who were deeply interested in mathematics and they wanted to explore math beyond school curriculum, beyond math contests. They were just hungry for math. So they wanted an opportunity where they could learn more math. And they did not have a lot of friends with whom they could discuss math. So we thought, why don't we start a program where they will not only be exposed to a lot of mathematics, but they will also get to meet and learn with a lot of students like them across India. So that's how the idea of raising a mathematician foundation came. In fact, it started as a training program. The first program was for about 100 students across India in a 7-day residential camp, which was provided absolutely free of cost. And then that's how the program started. Then we felt we should continue. And the foundation followed after that. So that's how it all started back in 2013, 2014.
Yeah. So you are doing this since almost 10 years?
Yeah, about 12 years.
Okay. You've been working with young math enthusiastic for almost 12 years. What's the most surprising misconception people have about, say, gifted children?
We see a lot of students who are deeply passionate about mathematics, right? And they could be a lot of students that we see in the class as class toppers, and maybe some students who don't really excel in academics, but they are really they have the talent and potential. But there are some students who are who just seem to get everything all of a sudden. So when I say that, what I mean is you expose them to anything and they are like sponge. They can absorb any material or of any kind of difficulty. So they are usually outliers, right? Just
Mhm.
like how we have, some famous painters, some musicians. They are just out of the league, right? I mean, they are just. It's too hard to believe that somebody could teach them something. So they are very original, very natural. So these are students who are termed as highly gifted by the academia. But then on another side, we also believe that every child is gifted, every child is unique. They have their, unique potential. So in that sense, everybody is gifted, but this giftedness that we are talking about is something that we feel some students already have. They don't need to be exposed. So we just have to nurture those kind of talents. So this is the category that I'm talking about. And generally, when we say gifted, many people also consider students who are exceptionally bright in mathematics and who are much ahead of their age. And the general misconception I think that people have is that these children don't need any hand-holding, mentoring. Oh, they are bright. They'll find out their way, right? We need to focus on students who are struggling, right? But just because they are bright doesn't mean that they don't deserve a challenging curriculum, a great teacher. So that's the kind of misconception where I feel, because most people say, okay, we need to help the underprivileged, we need to help students who are struggling. Yes, we
Mhm.
should do that, but we should not forget there is another group. Just because they are bright, should not leave them with any disadvantage, and they have their challenges. They need mentoring. So I think this is the most popular misconception that I have seen so far.
So mentoring is important, be it anyone.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Can you think of someone exceptionally gifted and some story that you can share with us?
Sure, a lot of stories.
Lot
So,
of story. Maybe one to start with.
yeah, I want to start with, of course. So there was this boy who came to one of our camps. He was probably 9 years old at that time, and he was super excited about mathematics. And for him, in the class, the entire class disappeared. For him, it was he
Okay.
and the teacher. So if he wanted to say something, he will just get up, come next to me, and then start talking to me. And the entire class would be irritated. Why is this guy doing like this? But he will never realize that there are others in the class. And one day he was trying to explain to me what does four dimension mean in mathematics. Okay, now third dimension itself is challenging for most of us. And fourth dimension, to visualize that, is extremely challenging. And this was coming from a 9-year-old. And he explained to
Oh.
me very beautifully how he thought of the fourth dimension.
Hmm.
So then it was like, I said, there is something about this kid,
Hmm.
and we should really work with them. And of course, thankfully, his parents were also quite supportive, and we could engage with the boy for a long time. Yeah, so
This
that's a short story.
question takes me to compelling me to ask you this. Not every time parents are supportive for their kids. And, some parents would say, okay, you're good with maths, but it doesn't mean that you will be good with other subjects. And they'll force them to study everything and they expect them to do well in all the subjects. So,
Hmm.
how do you deal with such kind of scenario?
Right. So I think one of the biggest pressures that we have in India is school grades, right? And getting marks, getting very good marks in all the exams, and everything else becomes secondary. We see that when students get into high school, they drop their hobbies, many of them, just because they are in high school. So it seems that the world stops for the sake of academics. So I think that is sad, especially for these kids. I mean, not just for these kids, for any kid. The whole world should not stop. It's a wholesome experience, right? And academics is just one part of life, not the entire part of life. So that is where I think we as educators, we as parents, we need to realize that when we are bringing up a child, we are bringing up a whole human being, and
Hmm.
not just one part of academics and something like that. So that is one. Second is, how do we deal with some student who is exceptionally bright in one area but not interested in something else, right?
Hmm.
So there could be somebody who's really passionate about mathematics but not that passionate about social science. I think that is fine. I mean, with all due respect to social science,
Hmm.
everybody will not be interested in everything. No, so for me, the best comparison I like to give is about food. There is
Yeah.
nobody who does not like food, but we have our preferences,
Hmm.
right? And you can't enforce somebody that you should like this particular, you should like chapati, you should like rice. No, It's everybody's personal choice. But yes, you should be okay to have, different times. You should not be finicky. Those things are there. So I think there, if we accept that maybe they have a stronger inclination towards something and lighter inclination towards something else, I think that will go a long way in nurturing that child.
That's interesting. So those who are gifted, those who have natural inclination for learning maths, I think they will, take things further. How do you make it interesting for those who are not very much comfortable with the maths? Like it's numbers and formula. How do you make it joyful for kids?
Yeah, so numbers are fun for many of us, but
Yes.
I think we lose the element of interest when we are forcing down something which is not appealing at all. So for instance, if you know somebody is asked to write A to Z every day 10 times,
Hmm.
and the expectation is that they will fall in love with language. No, they are not. You need to know alphabet. That is true. But the way is not to make them write that, so many number of times. And the same thing happens in math when it comes to multiplication tables, writing down tables. I'm not saying that is not needed. That is needed. But when you try to shove it down the throat of a child who is just getting into the subject, that's the best way to kill the child's interest in the subject. So I think there are a lot of other ways in which we can bring the beauty of mathematics to a child. Something as simple as looking at calendars. You take any
Hmm.
calendar, there are so many things that we can explore with a child in the through calendars. I've started sharing some of these on Facebook and LinkedIn since last couple of days. So you take anything, you will find something very interesting. So for instance, today is the 25th, right? Today is the 25th. So if you draw a diagonal of dates on 25th in the calendar of March, you will see that you are always finding square numbers or prime numbers in the
Wow, that's
diagonal.
interesting.
Okay. If you go to 26th tomorrow, if you draw an X, you will only find even numbers over there, right? So these are beautiful patterns. So the first way to engage or to, so to say, convert a child into mathematics is you show them the beauty of mathematics. You make them feel, oh, this is fun. Oh, how is this happening? Just like we do it for science, right? We just show an experience that, hey, how is this happening? So it should feel like magic, some kind of fascination, and then they will automatically come into the subject, but not teaching long division algorithms. I mean, we should teach, but not stressing that they should remember, they should learn, they should be fast. No, these are real big put-offs. Uh, that's my view.
This is interesting. I think India has a very rich history in mathematics. Do you think this repetition way of teaching has taken away interest of students?
I wouldn't say that. So, I mean, there are a lot of things to it. So, if you talk about the history of mathematics or history of Indian knowledge systems, um, there was repetition, and children were learning things by heart back in those days. But the purpose was different because they did not have, notebooks were not there. I mean, they did not have any other way to access the knowledge. So memorizing was very important for them at that particular. But things are changing, right? I mean, things are changing since when we were in school and now how the subject has evolved and what are the skills that the children need today. Things are different. So asking this question of how we do it repetitively. Yes, repetition in some sense is boring, but it is also required to get mastery over some topics. So we need a combination of both, something new which is non-repetitive and something that will ensure that they are doing drill problems. Right. So there has to be, so right now there is a overemphasis of repeat, 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 so that you can improve your grades, you become master in something. But then that is taking away the ability of the child in how do you solve a problem that is completely new and nobody has taught to you, right?
Hmm.
So that we are missing out just by doing this repetition of stuff. So I think repetition to some extent is it has its value, but there should also be something which is new, novel, which is attractive, which is challenging for them. So yeah,
I think repetition is for very young students because they have to remember numbers, they have to remember tables. Do you think if they understand why they are doing it, it will make more sense to them and it will make it interesting? I think students are given tables to memorize without knowing what is multiplication, what is addition. So, I-
so I think at that age when they are that young, would they really care? Why is it going to be useful? Where is it going to be useful? I mean, they are just having the ball of their, the great time in their life at that time. So they will not think like adults. So maybe a high schooler, maybe a higher secondary student, you tell them, okay, this is where trigonometry is going to be useful in your life. Maybe they'll be interested to know that, but not primary school children. So the way in which I think we can repeat stuff is by showing a variety and still getting. So I'm a South Indian. I can think about food, right? Okay. Uh,
yeah.
Idli, dosa, uttapa, all these things are made of more or less the same batter, right? I mean, it's rice and the same combination of rice, dal, and everything. But you present it in different forms so that it comes like a variety. Every day you give idli to that guy, he'll be fed up of having the same kind of food. That is most likely. So we need to introduce them numbers. We need to introduce them tables. It has to be through different variety, activities, and that is where the teacher's creativity comes into play. You can't say that this is how I learned, and you should also learn it in that way. So I think that's where we need to put up a creative hat and then go with all these things. Yeah,
Do you train teachers also? I think that's really important. Like you start as
yeah,
early as second grade, and
yeah.
if the teachers are not at that level, kids will
Right,
not get interested further in the subject.
right. Right. So teachers have a big responsibility. In fact, teaching, I would say, is just one part of their job. So it's always easy for somebody. So, for example, when I started teaching, I wanted to start as a school teacher for at least a short time to see what does a school teacher go through, right? And then experience it, because it's everybody points finger out, this is not done properly in schools and this and that, but nobody gets into the shoes of a school teacher. So if, a huge respect from my side for all the school teachers for the amazing work they have been doing, which is usually not recognized. Um, but what happens with the school teacher's role is that many a times when we are teaching the same content over and over again,
Mm.
we become master in that particular box, but we may not get an opportunity to sharpen our axe and become better at something else. So I think for teachers, when teacher training camps happen, many a times what happens is, it is about pedagogy. How do you teach this in a very innovative way? How do you use some tools to teach this particular thing? How do you bring in some other aspect to teach? That is good, that is required, but along with that, we should also be looking at how does the teacher upgrade their level of understanding and things like that. So I mean, does a math teacher know about at least a few things that are happening in the space of mathematics or mathematics education? Or if it's an elementary teacher, then what is happening in that space of education? So
Mm.
there they may need some hand holding, and it's like corporate. I mean, we don't stop learning. We do this course, that course, we do this MBA, that MBA. It just you just keep learning. So those kind of training programs is something that I personally am interested in doing for teachers. So that's what we do in building up their skills in mathematics. Uh,
So,
yeah,
students are important, but I think teachers are also important to be trained in this way
absolutely.
of teaching.
Yeah.
You've given many TED talks, and what do you think? People should know more about mathematics or mathematics as a teaching.
I think what when people look at mathematics, of course, there are two kinds of views on that. One is people who love mathematics for the sake of mathematics. They don't really care whether it is going to be used in real life or not. It's just like how we enjoy music. We don't
Mhm.
really care, oh, where am I going to use this in my real life? We just enjoy music, we listen to it, right? But when it comes to math, it is, it's sometimes not like music because we are going to use math in our daily life, in some way or the other. And
Yes.
music may not. So I may be a terrible singer. That's okay. I can still live a good life. But
Mhm.
that's not always the case with math. So there we often tend to look at utility value. So what is the use of learning this particular thing and so on. And many a times it is too far ahead to understand what is the utility of doing this. So for instance, if there is a problem that is completely new, okay, does not require. So let me state a problem just to give a context, okay. So let's say that there are 10 steps. This is a problem that recently we did in a grade 2 and 3 of Ganit Data Batch. So grade 2 and 3 students were working on this problem, okay. You have 10 steps. You are allowed to either climb one step or two steps at a time,
Mhm.
okay. In how many ways can you reach the 10th step?
Mhm.
Okay, this is the problem statement. It's very simple to understand.
Yes.
Um, but you don't need a lot of mathematics to solve this problem. But at the same time, it is not an easy problem because there are 10 steps. So it could be 2 2 2 2 2 or 2 1 2 1. Could be 1 2 2 1 2. So there could be various ways to do that. So how do we attack this problem,
Mhm.
right? Now, when we are developing this kind of ability, the result is not necessarily tangible. We may not say, oh, by solving this problem, where am I going to use that in my real life? So these problems are actually building our thinking skills, which can be applied to different areas in life. So when we are looking at mathematics learning, I think one thing that we all need to understand is one is we learn concepts that is, required for various things. The other is how do we build problem solving skills? By that, I mean, how do you build skills to approach a problem that is completely new to you? And this has to start pretty early in life, and then it goes a long way. So that aspect, I think, is not very popular, or people don't know its importance because you don't see a tangible output from there.
So, do you mean other than technical or logical solving thing, you also need a mindset to approach a problem? Because
Absolutely.
if there
Yeah.
is no mindset to solve the problem, I think students will give up easily. And
Yes. Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
anything that you do with children in developing their mindset for problem solving?
So first is they need a problem which looks exciting. So
Okay.
which looks sometimes it looks like magic. It looks like a game. It looks like a puzzle, and it looks very simple. Okay, so we should not complicate the problem when we are initially giving them. So it looks simple for them. They'll feel that, oh, by trying this, I'll get the answer very easily. But they may not. Okay, but the problem is too tempting for them to give up, right?
Hmm.
So then they start working on these problems, and slowly we build their stamina to work on one single problem for a long time.
This is
That will not
interesting.
they
You
yeah,
using
they
the word building stamina. I never thought it like that. It's
yeah.
really interesting perspective that not to give up is also about developing stamina for maths.
Yes, yes. And that ability is kind of going down, of course, with with all these things, with our gadgets and other things. People
Yes.
don't look at one particular thing for a long time. So when they say, I tried, I didn't get the answer, I tried for how long? Maybe for a few seconds, maybe at the most for a minute, and I didn't get the answer. And many feel that I've tried enough. Whereas we have students who, initially they may not have had the stamina, but they are willing to work on a problem for weeks
Mhm.
or even months to get the answer. They don't want any hints. And they are not exceptionally bright students. They are, ordinary
Yeah.
children, but they have just fell in love with the subject.
Mm.
And the problems are too tempting to give up. So,
Ah, This is, making me think, is there any change that you are seeing with students because of digital media, too much exposure to mobile, or even because of AI? Are you seeing the change with students' approach to studies?
Right. So in both ways, both positive as well as negative. So usually the negative sides are always spoken of. They are not
Yeah.
able to focus. They are distracted, and all this. So that is one side of it. But the positive side is now they have access to a lot of
Mhm.
places from where they can learn. Right? They have access to good material. They have access to good online manipulatives that with which they can play around. So there are a lot of good things that they have access to. They have access to a lot of good YouTube channels if they want to understand about mathematics. They have access to good online magazines, podcasts. But many a times, because we have internet, doesn't mean we get all these things very easily, right? So we have to go and look for it. So what we need to do is we need to show them, okay, these are the places from where you can get all these stuff. And once they fall in love with that subject, then they might be engaging in digital way of learning, but what they are looking for might change, right?
And
So I
what
think,
about
yeah.
AI
Hmm.
asking, I know students are asking just AI for answers rather than they finding the solution on their own. What's your view on this?
Right. So this is like a testing time for all of us educators as well as parents, because when an assignment is given, what is the guarantee that the student has done it on their own, or they have taken some assistance from somewhere? And we see this particular thing in at many fronts.
Mhm.
Um, so one is, if we are able to build the child's interest and passion towards the subject at a very young age, then they would want to earn that, joy of discovering the solution on their own.
This is
Because
very
when you solve a
important.
problem,
Yes.
yeah, when we solve a problem, there is a joy. I mean, just think of it. An
Yeah.
artist, when the artist is completing the entire
Okay.
picture or sculpture, there is a joy that they get. So
Mhm.
they need to experience this intellectual kick when they get by solving a problem. And when the problem is harder, the joy that you get at the end is
Much
harder.
better.
So the joy of climbing Everest is very
Yes.
different from the joy of climbing maybe
Yes. Yes.
something that is small
Mhm.
height, right? So that they have to experience. Then they will not go for this way of getting the answer as a shortcut and things like that. And we also need to check
Mhm.
maybe what could be other factors. Are there some other external pressures because of which they are checking? If they don't submit their homework, are they getting some
Yes.
kind of punishments and things
Penalized
like
or
that?
something.
Uh,
Mm. And this needs to be developed at an early age. I think it's difficult when somebody's 10, 12 plus
the
to
earlier the
start
better.
this
Yeah.
kind of approach.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, I know a lot of activities that you do. I think many of viewers wouldn't know about it. Will you brief them what are various programs that you have so that they can connect with you and they can probably take benefit of uh, things that you have to offer?
Sure. Sure. So there are two organizations where I kind of spend my time. One is Vichar Vatika, as you mentioned in the introduction. So Vichar Vatika primarily has two kinds of courses. One is called Ganit Pida, which you had mentioned, is for grade 2 to 7 students, and there we focus on how do you fall in love with the subject of mathematics. How do you build that mathematical thinking? How do you start approaching problems that are completely new, right? And this, we feel every child deserves this particular opportunity. I mean, it is something that they should be exposed to. And the other course is Ganit Month. So Ganit Manthan is where students are already super excited about mathematics. They eat, breathe, and think mathematics. They just want more challenging content. They want some mentoring. They want peers like them. So that is where Ganit Manthan comes into play, right? So
And
these
it
are
starts
two.
with what age, Ganit Manthan?
So Ganit Manthan, there is no specific age,
Okay.
as in we may have a 9-year-old as well as a 15-year-old together in one class. because the 9-year-old is as able as a bright 15-year-old. So we don't want to turn off, an opportunity for them. But generally, I would say the range is 10 to 15 years. And 12, 13 is like a perfect fit over there, even though we have younger students. So these are two courses that primarily we do under Vichar Vatika. Of course, there is Vijnyan Manthan, which is another course on science, looking at science without boundaries, not looking at physics, chemistry, biology, but science as a whole. And then we have Raising a Mathematician Foundation. So in Vichar Vatika, it is more about personal mentoring and other things. In Raising a Mathematician Foundation, it is about reaching out to a lot of students, finding the top talents in the country, identifying them, and getting them exposed to different programs. There we have programs which run as summer camps. There are camps that are for high school students, some for slightly younger students. There are camps for girls who are super excited about mathematics. And there we have women mathematicians and scientists who teach them. There are Olympiad training programs that happen online throughout the year. So for math as well as informatics Olympiad. And through Raising a Mathematician Foundation, we have been able to do a lot of reach. So, for example, tomorrow we are starting a camp for rural girls in Rajasthan, from the northern district of Rajasthan. So it's India-Pakistan border where the camp is going to happen. They are going to learn from a faculty from Azim Premji University, two from IIT Gandhinagar, and one of our faculty. So these girls are coming from very humble backgrounds, but super passionate about mathematics. So they need role models to look up, right? So through all these programs, students get a broad exposure of mathematics beyond school curriculum, beyond Olympiad. And when they get it at an early age, they can make a more informed choice about what kind of courses, what do they want to do in college, and so on. They will be making an informed choice, not a peer pressure choice that they would make. So that is the kind of work that we do at Raising a Mathematician Foundation. If I can just add maybe one more point. So there is a new initiative that we have started 3 years ago called Math Circles. So Math Circles are places where students get a very good flavor of mathematics directly from a mathematician usually, and that's like a weekly engagement. And Math Circle is a global initiative. It has started in India quite recently. So we have a Math Circle running in Chennai, in Nagpur. We have one in the suburbs of Mumbai. We plan to start a couple more in this coming academic year. So that's a good community building program as well.
So somebody wants to start a math circle in their area. Can they be in touch with you and you can help them?
Absolutely, sir. So in fact, we have put all the resources on our website called mathscircle.org. MATHS circle.org. So there, whatever problems you have discussed in the class, we have put it in the form of a PDF. Anybody is free to choose that material and do it on their own, right? So if anybody wants to start a math circle, they can do that. If anybody needs help in terms of starting, let's say somebody is super excited, but they don't know how to get the students and other things, then we can explore how we can, help them and start a chapter over there in that city, town, or village.
You are also training students for Olympiad. Could you share something more about it? Like, I think you have many students from your side going to international levels also. So,
Right.
share a few things about it.
So maybe an initial introduction to what is the Olympiad that we are talking about, because these days there are a lot of math
Yes.
contests which are named as Olympiad. But the word Olympiad comes from the word Olympics, where a country sends a team to compete internationally. So there is a team that is sent for math, science, computer science. I mean, science also, biology, astronomy, chemistry, physics, and informatics. Now there is a AI Olympiad as well. But there are a lot of school competitions that happen, which go by the name Olympiad. And that is not the kind of Olympiad that I'm referring to. So this Olympiad in India, it is conducted by Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education. In various countries, there will be national bodies who are conducting these Olympiads. So in India, if I can just give a few numbers, um, the first level is called IOQM, which is this year. Last year, it was written by 1.1 lakh students from grade 8 to 12. Okay. And from that, about 6 to 7 thousand students are selected for the next level, which is called Regional Math Olympiad. And if they clear that, in fact, these are very very challenging exams. So Regional Math Olympiad is like a 3 hour exam with 6 questions. That's about it. You have 30 minutes to work on a problem, but that 30 minutes itself is not sufficient.
Mm.
So there is Regional Math Olympiad, there is INMO, the next level, and then there is a camp called IMOTC, where you about 60, 70 students are selected across the country uh, through these exams. And finally, a 6 member team goes and represents the country internationally. So this is the kind of selection level, and our students have been going through this. So this year for IMOTC, the 25% of the crowd are students from our foundation.
This
And
is
last year we had
amazing.
a goal. Yeah. So it's been great. In fact, the fact that we are able to touch the lives of all these students and give them good material access to good
Mm.
mentors, that is quite satisfying.
It is.
So
It is quite
yeah.
satisfying, and it's you are developing interest. You are taking them further. I think you're doing amazing work. Um, Anything else about your initiative that probably I missed to share and you want to share?
Um, Yeah, there is also a program that we have been running since last 15 years. This is not under Raising a Mathematician Foundation. It's not under Vicharavatika. It is yeah, under Chinmaya International Foundation, which is the research wing of Chinmaya Mission. And this camp is about history of mathematics in India. And it's a camp
Mm.
for school students. So this year is going to be the 16th year that we are doing this camp. And
Mm.
generally, when we think about history, there are people who love it like math, or at
Yes,
school,
yes,
they
yes.
really don't like. But this is where the children really enjoy doing mathematics, because they start from, they have to question everything because they are talking about the time. So, for instance, how do you draw a circle without a compass, without a protractor? How do you measure angles? You are going back in time and then you are
Okay.
trying to do those activities. So it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of questioning. There's a lot of inquiry. And that camp is a very good residential camp for anybody to get into a very new world of mathematics. It is
And
called
is there an
Vedic.
age limit or?
So every year, depending on the topic, we decide the age limit. So this year,
Mhm.
the topic is magic squares and some things in number theory. So magic squares are, topics that anybody can fall in love with. And plus, there is, of course, it comes with a lot of problems, puzzles, and other things that we do. So this year's camp is for 12 years and above,
Mhm.
and it's a 5-day residential camp in Ernakulam, Kerala. Uh, so the name of the camp is Vedic Matrix, Matrix. So like
Mm.
matrix with the H.
Mathematics. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
this is interesting. I hope a lot of people take advantage of this initiatives that you have taken and they join for your course or they share it with the students so they can take benefit of it. Um, if you have to start, say from day one, is there anything that you would do differently?
Right. So day one, I mean, now that when I look back,
Yes.
I'm very happy with the way it all started, because when I started, I mean, just like, a lot of startups, when they start, they are thinking about scale and growth and other things. We did not have that honestly in mind. We were looking at the joy of doing it, and how do we bring in more people who really enjoy doing this in terms of faculty, in terms
Mm.
of team building and other things. And we were also looking at how do we enrich ourselves. So when we had some extra time, we did not think about how do you scale up your business activity and things like. We're looking at how we can enrich ourselves with more knowledge, and that in right now is more challenging because there are a lot of things on the plate. But I'm glad that we all did that back then, so that we had a lot of things to do ahead. um, so that is what I mean. I'm pretty happy with how things started.
Hmm.
I don't think
You
I
will
would
do
have
it exactly the same, probably,
more
if
or
it
less.
is
Yeah,
day one.
yeah, maybe, maybe, yeah.
Okay, that's nice. I will ask you some quick questions, more from fun facts point of view, or
Okay,
knowing more about you as a
okay.
person. So, my first question to you will be, if you will have to have a dinner with some mathematician, say from
Hmm.
history, who
Hmm.
would it be?
Okay. So history, of course, there are a lot of mathematicians
Yes,
from history. Um, I mean, if I can name two, that will be great. One from India
why not?
and one
Yes.
from Europe. So
Yeah.
one from India would be Brahmagupta. I mean, while there were a lot of great mathematicians, Brahmagupta's text show us a huge jump in terms of mathematics, from how he brings rules for operations with zero, negative integers, and negative integers are things which came in Europe about 12th, 13th centuries after Brahmagupta's time. So he was
Mhm.
that advanced. He also delved into number theory and a lot of areas in geometry. So, and some of these we don't know how he got the idea, right? So if I'm going on a dinner with him, I would like
Yes,
to ask
you'll
him,
ask
where did
that.
you get this idea from? Right? So that would be my,
First pick.
Brahmagupta from India.
Yes.
Yeah. And if it is from outside of India, it would be Euler. So Euler was one of the best mathematicians of all times. In fact, towards the middle of his life, he started losing his eyesight and he was completely blind at one point in time. But his math contribution only increased after that. Okay, so just
Mhm.
imagine he was doing some really high level mathematics, being blind, and somebody asked him, uh, how are you able to do all this math? Because
You can
you
see,
need to
yes.
see. Yeah, you need to see stuff, right? And he, what he said? He said, it just reduced a lot of distractions that I had, so now I'm able to focus more. So
Mm.
Euler would be my next
Second.
favorite.
Okay. If math were a superhero, what would it be? And what would be its superpower also?
Math were a superhero. Okay, so I think its superpower would be
Hmm.
to hmm, what would it be? So superheroes, yeah, they can, superhero can convert anybody to love mathematics. Maybe
Okay.
that would be the
That's
power.
interesting. Yes, that will make your work easy for
Yes,
sure. Your favorite math symbol?
math symbol, a lot of them, but
Just
my
name one
favorite
for
is a
now.
personal symbol is a small square that is usually placed at the end of a proof. So when we write a proof, at the end,
Yes.
to show that the proof has ended, you put a small square. Okay. And when you are actually solving that problem and when you have finally finished the solution, there is a lot of satisfaction when you put that square. So I think that would be my favorite symbol.
Okay, that's interesting. Your most overrated math topic?
Learning multiplication tables.
All right. Your favorite non-math hobby?
Well, I used to have a lot, but now it is slowly going down. But I would say maybe writing blogs or experiences. So writing, yeah.
Okay, so if you were not a mathematician, what would you be?
I think I mean, I'm not a mathematician per se, I'm a math educator. So,
Math
but
educator,
if I'm
okay.
not a math educator, I think I would have become a psychologist because every educator has to
Okay.
be a psychologist. So
Hmm.
that is something, psychology is something that I always love. Maybe that, yeah.
And I think now also you are using it some way to make it interesting, subject as a, the
Yeah,
fun
yeah.
factor. Okay, if math were a Bollywood movie, we both are from Mumbai. I think I can't skip this question. If math were a Bollywood movie, what would its
Hmm.
title be?
Hmm. So I think there was a movie named ABCD, which
Okay,
was Anybody Can Dance. So this would be
dance.
ABCDM. Anybody can do math.
Fantastic. I really love that. That's amazing. I hope we have a movie like that sometime.
Yeah. Yes.
Mathematics. Why not? We have some interesting movies on mathematics.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Can you name
Yes.
few of them if you remember?
Yeah, sure. So, one of my favorites is The Man Who Knew Infinity, which is the biopic of Srinivasa Ramanujan. That's a great movie. Another very good movie is a Hollywood movie. I mean, this one is also a Hollywood movie. Is Hidden Figures. So, Hidden Figures talks about the women mathematicians, the African American women mathematicians whose contributions into American, space missions, which was not that recognized or that highlighted. So that's a great, very, very inspiring movie. Of course, there are other movies like A Beautiful Mind,
Hmm.
biopic of John Nash, that is there. So yeah, so these are the three movies that immediately
Fantastic.
come to mind.
I haven't seen first two. Now I know what I will be doing next weekend. Okay. Some questions, more of an ending questions to you. For our viewers, can you share some simple, mind-blowing mathematic trick that even non-math person can enjoy?
Enjoy. Okay. All right. So this is again like a magic trick. I won't reveal what goes behind this. So maybe I can use you as the audience,
Okay.
okay? And I
Yes.
can ask you, okay, can you tell me a single digit number from, 1 to 9?
9.
9. Okay. So write it 3 times. You have 999, right?
Hmm.
Okay. Now you
Yes.
can pull out a calculator if you want to. Divide that
Okay.
999,
Wait,
or
I
maybe I
need.
can do it. You want me to do it for you? I can,
Okay.
I have,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So 999, you divide it by 9 plus 9 plus 9.
27.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, 27. When you divide it, you will get 37.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Suppose you would have, so what, as a magic trick, what we do is we write the number 37 somewhere. Okay.
Okay.
And ask people to just do this and say, okay, divide by the sum of the digits. And the answer would be 37. So you say we already knew the answer. But the
Okay.
thing is, if you would have chosen 7 or 8 or 6 and done the same thing, like 7 plus 7 plus 7 is 21,
Hmm.
and 777 divided by 21 would give the same result, 37.
Okay.
So
That's
whatever you do,
interesting.
the answer would be 37, right? So
37.
this,
Oh,
right? But
that's
if you do it in the class, then what we do is we don't stop there. We said, okay, now try to find out why does this happen. So now they can't
yes.
stop, right? Then they are
Yes.
excited to.
Right. Right. That's interesting way of yes building their interest. Um, okay. What's one thing parents or teachers should stop doing if they want kids to love maths?
Right. Um, More than one, please. Maybe two, at least two. Okay.
I
So
go ahead. I think this is very important.
okay. So parents sometimes, if they have, they did not like mathematics as a child, right?
Yes.
Many a times they say that, oh, I never loved mathematics. It was a horrible subject. And in some sense, we see, they take some kind of pride as if saying, I was not good in mathematics. Nobody will take that pride and say, I'm not good in English. Nobody will say that, right?
Hmm.
But in math, somehow it has turned out, it's like, a fad to say that I was not good at mathematics. So
Hmm.
that I think we should stop saying, even if we had, some bad
A good
experiences with the subject or the
time.
teacher,
Yeah.
right? Because the child is looking up to us for anything, and they may also say, okay, maybe it's in my genes, maybe I don't know. So these are things that
Hmm.
they should stop
I think they should do
saying
it
that.
for every other subjects or anything else also.
Yes,
They
absolutely.
have an
But then,
impact on child.
but I don't know. I
Maths,
haven't
yes,
heard any
yes.
parent. I haven't heard any parent who said that I never liked science or I never liked social science so many times as much as math,
Yeah.
right? So that is something. And social science or science, it is you can do bad at in 1 year, and maybe next year you can still
Catch
do,
up.
you know,
Yes.
catch up with it. But in math, in some way, because of the abstraction or
Constant.
probably whatever reason, it just affects our self-esteem.
Hmm.
Math and English, math and language, I would say. So
Hmm.
that is something that I think as parents we should really stop.
Absolutely. Good
Yeah.
point. Yes.
And as teachers, and I would include parents also in this because parents are also educators for most children at home. So I think we should we should stop, or rather we should start encouraging students to question more and not just stop teaching with all the procedural mathematics that we do in school.
Hmm.
So whatever we do in school is generally procedural. I mean, this is
Yes.
how you multiply algebraic expressions, this is how you do division, and all this is how you do this. But the next step is, why do we do it in that way,
Hmm.
right? Or can we have questions which don't necessarily require procedures?
Hmm.
Because the thing is, students, they might, okay, I know how to divide, but I don't know how to use the division algorithm.
Hmm.
They are like, okay, but if I don't know how to use division algorithm, then teacher is not happy because that is what is expected, for a child to know. But maybe they can really do better using their own ways of division. It might be a little slow, but so what? Right? I mean,
Hmm.
who in the real life is going to use division algorithm end of the day? You and I are not using division algorithm today. But we don't value the child's way of doing things, and we expect
Exploring.
them to do it in
Yes.
the same
Hmm.
procedural way. So I think procedures are are over leveraged, I would say. I mean,
Hmm.
they are beyond what its value is. It is focused on. So that
Hmm.
I think has to reduce, because then they will start say, okay, I don't have to mug up a lot of procedures.
Hmm.
There are a lot of fun stuff that we can do in mathematics. So
I think this
this
is
would,
all have an
but then,
impact on child.
but I don't know.
Maths, yes, yes.
I haven't heard any parent who said that I never liked science or I never liked social science so many times as much as math,
Yeah.
right? So that is something. And social science or science, it is you can do bad at in 1 year, and maybe next year you can still
Catch
do,
up.
you know,
Yes.
catch up with it. But in math, in some way, because of the abstraction or
Constant.
probably whatever reason, it just affects our self-esteem.
Hmm.
Math and English, math and language, I would say. So
Hmm.
that is something that I think as parents we should really stop.
Absolutely. Good
Yeah.
point. Yes.
And as teachers, and I would include parents also in this because parents are also educators for most children at home. So I think we should we should stop, or rather we should start encouraging students to question more and not just stop teaching with all the procedural mathematics that we do in school.
Hmm.
So whatever we do in school is generally procedural. I mean, this is
Yes.
how you multiply algebraic expressions, this is how you do division, and all this is how you do this. But the next step is, why do we do it in that way,
Hmm.
right? Or can we have questions which don't necessarily require procedures?
Hmm.
Because the thing is, students, they might, okay, I know how to divide, but I don't know how to use the division algorithm.
Hmm.
They are like, okay, but if I don't know how to use division algorithm, then teacher is not happy because that is what is expected, for a child to know. But maybe they can really do better using their own ways of division. It might be a little slow, but so what? Right? I mean,
Hmm.
who in the real life is going to use division algorithm end of the day? You and I are not using division algorithm today. But we don't value the child's way of doing things, and we expect
Exploring.
them to do it in
Yes.
the same
Hmm.
procedural way. So I think procedures are are over leveraged, I would say. I mean,
Hmm.
they are beyond what its value is. It is focused on. So that
Hmm.
I think has to reduce, because then they will start say, okay, I don't have to mug up a lot of procedures.
Hmm.
There are a lot of fun stuff that we can do in mathematics. So
I think this
This
is
would be
also
my
important in AI times when people are, using ready-made answers. If
yeah,
child is motivated to explore their answer and maybe then look for whether it's correct or not,
yeah,
then
mm,
then it will go a lot of into their personality building, because life never
yeah,
gives you direct answers for everything. You need to find out, and this is also a way of dealing with life, not just
yeah,
mathematics. This
yeah,
is
yeah.
very interesting. One last question to you. What's your dream project that you haven't yet started?
Mm,
I now know you have done a lot of things, but yet
mm,
something that you haven't yet started and you wish
yeah,
it to be fulfilled.
yeah. So I think one thing is our textbooks, right? And
Hmm.
textbooks, when we talk about, at least in the Indian subcontinent or in most places, they are the first material that students have access to in learning any subject, right? When you talk about the masses, I mean, there might be people who can afford a lot of other books. They have access to, an electronic device. They can watch things on the internet. But when we talk about students right from the marginalized section to somebody in the top school, the first place where they can get a lot of material is the textbook. Today, there is only one textbook for every grade, right? And we try to put in as much content in the most precise manner, whatever in that particular textbook. But what if we can have textbook that caters to different kinds of audience,
Hmm.
right? So let's say that you are an art person, let us say, okay, you like arts more,
Yeah.
right? So can I teach the same subject, or can I present the same subject, or at least a few chapters in a particular subject in the way that appeals to you,
Hmm.
right? So if you are an art person, let's say, so I'll take an example. In 11th standard, usually students are introduced to this topic called permutations and combinations. So it's in how many ways people can be arranged, in how many ways four letters can be arranged. A, B, C, D. You can write A, B, D, C. There are 24 ways of doing that. So there are, they learn the formula and so on. But let's say to an art person, we replace the A, B, C, D with four colors,
Hmm.
right?
This is
They will feel, oh,
interesting.
this is good, this is interesting. To a music person, we ask, okay, sare gama, right?
Hmm.
They will really like that. So
Seven.
can we,
Hmm.
yeah, so can we have textbooks and chapters that cater to audiences of different interests, or maybe like sports, right? We introduce certain chapters. I mean, I can think of mathematics only, but I really hope that
Yeah.
other subjects also are taught
Hmm.
in. So can we introduce them in the way they would like to? It's like a book, they feel like, oh, I really want to read this book, right? So
Hmm.
that would be a dream project, and till now haven't
This is
started.
interesting. It
But
is to the level of personalization. I mean, I think these days everything is personalized. Why not even studies? I think this is interesting. Anything else that you want to share with us? I asked you
well,
many questions, but just something that
yeah,
I.
I think personally, math is a subject that everybody likes, but not all forms of math everybody may like. It's just
Hmm.
that we don't really know that we are still liking mathematics. For instance, I fell in love with mathematics because of patterns, and I loved patterns as a young child. I used to stitch, cross stitches. I
Hmm.
used to paint. I used to love seeing all the chip tiles on the terraces and so on.
Yes.
I would try to find patterns, and I think most people do
Yeah.
that. But I was lucky enough to, get that interest hooked into mathematics, right? And many people still like doing all these things, but they don't know where math is coming into picture over here. So I think the beauty of math is highly underrated,
Hmm.
and students and people should be exposed to different areas in mathematics, and just for the sake of it, not thinking about where am I going to use this in my real life? Is it going to come for my exam? Is it going to help my child get 5% extra in mathematics? If it is something interesting, just expose them and see how it goes. right? So this would be my, you know, my
Final
hope
thought.
that, yeah, everybody starts looking at math in, patterns in games in whatever things they like, and then they'll see a different side of mathematics that they haven't seen so far.
This is really very interesting way of looking at mathematics, and I hope more people start seeing it that way. Thank you so much, Vinay, for sharing your thoughts, your knowledge, and I really wish people take benefit of this. I will share all the links, and you can explore something that is relevant to you. Anything that you want from people as a support, please share with us as well. I think this is not
Yeah.
one person's
Yes.
initiative, it requires
Yes.
movement.
Absolutely. So a lot of our initiatives are supported by parents of the students who, who have felt that their children have taken a lot of, so that children have grown up, but the parents continue to be
Mm.
part of the organization. They volunteer for various activities and, take charge of things. And parents coming from various backgrounds, some from corporate background, some from, some other consultancy background, and they will have a lot of things to add on. So if there are people who feel that I want to just contribute something for the sake of math education, right? Then they can really come forward, and math education, somebody can be handling operations, somebody can be handling outreach, somebody can be handling designing, right? But it is for the cause. The cause is there, but the roles might be all different. We really welcome with both arms wide open to people who would like to contribute in some way in whichever area of their interest. They can just send us an email, and we'll be happy to connect with them and take them as part of the family and move ahead.
Mm. Thank you, Vinay, for sharing this. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this. Connect with him, connect with the organizations, and I think we should be doing more for mathematics. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jane. I really enjoyed having this discussion conversation with you. Thank you so much for being me here, and thanks to the audience who have been watching live as well as recorded later. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, everyone. I will see you at the next session with Life Sutra conversation with another interesting topic. Meanwhile, keep enjoying mathematics as well.